So to understand something, to process it in your mind, then to dumb it down for people to understand in the most simple way will indirectly or directly be impacting someone in the society sitting in some corner reading your news article. What do you mean by policy manuals? The manuals in which the details of your particular policy, it may be some insurance or any kind of policy kind of writings that we have, but purely we'll be dealing with technical writing, and it again has its own, so you need to fulfill all of their queries within that writing. Of course, it is not possible to fulfill all queries. Hello everyone and welcome to a new session of your journalistic journey with me, Zubin Paul, your journalism faculty at Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence. Today we are going to be starting off with a new unit, a new session, a new chapter, and the topic is going to be writing styles. What are the different kinds of writing styles that we have? Today we are going to be dealing with mainly two kinds of writing styles that is there in your syllabus and which is very important for you. That is journalistic writing and technical writing. Well, the names automatically suggest what they are, but let us delve a little deeper into it and get to know exactly what these two terms mean. First, we will deal with journalistic writing. Journalistic writing is a style of writing used to report news stories in newspapers, televisions, broadcasts, on radio and on the internet. So basically, it is a style of writing used to report news stories. That is very important. Till now, what all we have learned is about journalistic writing. Keep in mind, we have been trying to develop the skill of writing as a journalist, of journalistic writing, and that is what this consists of. It is for newspapers, television broadcasts, radio and the internet. Of course, for all kinds of media, all of these encompass the media/journalistic writing. So that is what it is. Unlike other styles of writing which can be flexible and casual, the characteristics of journalistic writing are pretty easy to spot. Of course, there are a set of rules which journalistic writing follows, and that can be easily spotted because that is what we have learned till now. The 5 W's, 1 H, the inverted pyramid style, etc., etc. All of these are the factors that make it easy to spot what journalistic writing is. We can also differentiate it from other kinds of writing. It just applies common sense. For instance, if you open the book to a chapter and set it next to a newspaper article side by side, you'd probably notice that unlike the book, the article is written in short sentences and the paragraphs and quickly gets to the point. That is the most important thing. Till now, we have been discussing only and only about this being brief, being concise, being clear, being objective, etc., etc. That is what this says. If you put any kind of a novel or a book next to a newspaper article, that is the difference that you will notice. The newspaper article or the report will have short sentences and paragraphs and quickly gets to the point. Why? Because if you remember, our leads are the ones that lead you into the article, and it quickly helps you to get to the point of the entire article. Unlike a book, wherein your main focus is to take the audience, take the reader through a journey of imagination within the mind. That is the whole purpose of writing a book, or majority of the books, at least in terms of novels, etc. But a news article, a news report, as we have discussed, mainly focuses on getting to the point as soon as possible. In addition to their brevity, news stories have a particular structure that is easily recognizable. As I have mentioned, in addition to them being brief, news stories are easily identifiable because of all the factors that we have studied till now. That is the inverted pyramid style, the 5 W's, 1 H, getting to the point as soon as possible, etc., etc. This is what characterizes journalistic writing. The big, bold headline, for example, is intended to grab readers' attention, right? Example, this. This is a big bold headline that is trying to grab your attention. While the first sentence or paragraphs lays out the story, so the reader knows what to expect. This is very similar to what we have already studied in terms of inverted pyramid and the leads session. If you don't remember, please do look into that session again, because this is what it's completely dealing with. To get the reader's attention, you need to lay out a particular format wherein the sentence or the story is put in such a way wherein the reader understands and knows what to expect. These are the most common elements of journalistic writing, and as you will see, they have a lot to do with the function of journalism in society. What does this mean? Well, let's go through it once more. There are most common elements of journalistic writing, and as you will see, they have a lot to do with the function of journalism in society. That means basically your journalistic writing, the type of writing which is called journalistic writing, deals with the kind of writing that can make an impact to society. One of the main functions of journalism is, of course, to make an impact on the society. If said openly or not, this is a fact. So every report that you write will indirectly or directly be impacting someone in the society sitting in some corner reading your news article. So always keep this in mind. The function of journalism is society is to be very constructive in nature. And journalistic writing is something that pays heed to that particular function of journalism within the societal framework. So always keep this in mind. Your journalistic writing is always going to be impactful to someone or the other, to some section of society or the other. So always act and write very responsibly. Next, that was about our journalistic writing. Next, coming to technical writing. This is not something that is very usually dealt with and understood by a lot of people in society, and it is not taken seriously at all, honestly. But technical writing has a vast field of opportunity lying ahead of you. Let us see why that is. Technical writing is a type of writing where the author is writing about a particular subject that requires direction, instruction, or explanation. It may require direction, instruction, or explanation. For example, you will have seen small booklets or manuals along with your phone or any kind of electronic gadget. All of those books are merely trying to make you understand how this particular gadget works, what are its features, what are the do's, don'ts, what are its specifications, where was it made, etc., etc. These kind of details are all given in that small booklet. So for your understanding, basic understanding, the one who writes in that, or the writing which is done in that book, is called technical writing. Let's understand deeper. This style of writing has a very different purpose and different characteristics than other writing styles such as creative writing, academic writing, or business writing. These are the other kind of writings that we have, but purely we'll be dealing with technical writing, and it again has its own formulation of sentences, its own way of being written. That is what makes it different. You can definitely get to know, as we have mentioned, how journalistic writing is different from writing for novels. Similarly, you can get to know how to write for technical aspects of any gadget or electronic item or whatever it may be. Technical writing is straightforward. It's very straightforward, easy to understand. Explanations or instructions dealing with a particular subject. That is the simplest way you can put forward what is technical writing. It is straightforward, straight to the point. This pen can be used to write on the board. Done. Straightforward. You are not going to say this pen is such a device which can be also used to write on this board because it is blah 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 blah. No, people don't have time for that. So you need to get to the point. It's straightforward. This pen is used to write on the board. Done. Easy to understand. What do you mean by easy to understand? It means the language has to be very simple. The direction has to be very clear. The explanation or instructions dealing with the particular subject has to be very, very clear and simply put forward. That is the whole idea of you having a manual or an instruction manual in front of you, because you want to understand how this works in a very simple language, step-by-step manner. So you have to think like a layman and write. No matter your vocabulary may be the best in the world, but at the end of the day, you need to come down to commonality. You need to use very common language. You need to use very easy to understand language and be very thorough with your explanation or instruction using that simple language. It is an efficient and clear way of explaining something and how it works. Very simple, as I have said. You can use it for practically anything. How to assemble this, how to turn on something, how to assemble this, how to turn on a gadget, how to, turn on this air conditioning, how to clean the air conditioning. All these are instructions that you will get it online as well, but you will get within the manual also. And nobody realizes that this is a very, very efficient job opportunity. Nobody looks at it that way. People just think, okay, the booklet has come and they ignore the booklet. But actually, the instructions manual is very useful for a lot of people who are doing things on their own. Especially abroad, the instructions manual is very, very, very looked upon, because everyone there is kind of independent to do things, So that is why the instruction manual has a lot of value across the globe, and that so does technical writing. The subject of technical writing can either be, what can the subjects of technical writing be? Now, just a heads up, why I am going a little more into technical writing is because journalistic writing we have dealt with for these past sessions. You will have a fair idea by now, hopefully, and ahead also we'll be talking a lot about journalistic writing, but technical writing, this will be the only session. That is why I just want to give you a very clear, concise idea and crisp idea of how important technical writing is and what it constitutes. So coming back to the session, the subject of technical writing can either be, one is tangible. What do you mean by tangible? Something that can be seen or touched, such as a computer or software program, or information on how to assemble a piece of furniture. As I have taken the previous examples, all the examples I took till now were tangible technical writings, tangible examples. Now, abstract, something that involved a series of steps that aren't related to a tangible object. One example of this might be steps required to complete an office process. Of course, in an office you have a lot of things to do. In that, how do you do a certain kind of task? How do you achieve it? To achieve that task, there are certain tangible steps to be taken, but that accounts to be an abstract process because it involves a lot of other factors. It is not a very linear kind of instruction, wherein you just take piece 1, piece 2, piece 3, piece 4 and just assemble it and you're done. It's not that kind of a process. Maybe the process is a little more complex, and that is why it can come under an abstract technical writing. So I hope this is clear. There are two ways in which you can infer a particular technical writing, that is tangible and abstract. Next one, some examples of technical writing. I have mentioned a few, but here are a few more. Instruction manuals, policy manuals, process manuals, What do you mean by policy manuals? The manuals in which the details of your particular policy, it may be some insurance or any kind of policy, those will be given in that particular manual, and they will say you have to go through it so that you get more and more details regarding that particular policy, etc. That is also required to be written by a technical writer. And process manuals, how a particular process is to be conducted. To have that kind of an information as well, you have to have a technical writer. User manuals, most commonly you will have found this across every kind of device or whatever, television sets. You'll have user manuals, how to turn it on, how to turn it off, how to change the battery in a phone, etc., etc. These are all the kind of manuals that are made for the user. Reports of analysis, this is also another piece of technical writing that can come into place, wherein there will be a lot of analysis that is done, and your job will be to purely put it in a format wherein the analysis can be understood, to create a report of whatever analysis has been done. This analysis can be of any kind of research or of any kind of event or of any kind of situation that may have occurred. So why does it come under technical writing and not under journalistic writing? Journalistic writing, you are merely focusing on making it clear that this has happened. But the analysis part of it comes in play, wherein you are taking facts and deriving certain elements out of those facts. What can these elements be? The cause of it. What is the probability of it happening further? There may be some statistics associated along with that event. There may have been a lot of other events that have happened simultaneously. So these kind of other analysis that come across will be put into one shell and be put under reports of analysis. Instructions for assembling a product, again, very simple. A summarization of a long report that highlights and shortens the most important elements. Again, this may seem very easy, but it is one of the most difficult things. It is to take something that is 100 pages and make it into 10 pages. So that is the kind of challenges that you will have to face. But again, it is very fulfilling, and there is a lot of demand for technical writers in the market, especially in today's time. And this can be achieved only if you have a very, very, very good hold on language. And if you know the pulse of the audience, if you know how the audience or the readers can understand something in a very common and a very simple way. That is the end of the day. You have to use that kind of language itself. So to understand something, to process it in your mind, then to dumb it down for people to understand in the most simple way, that is the kind of process that goes on in your mind. So if you are up for this, you can of course opt a job as a technical writer in any kind of company. Every IT company itself will also have a requirement for these kind of writers. It is not just in the journalism field. So keep your eyes and ears open for these kind of opportunities once your course is over, and definitely it will be quite rewarding for you. Now, what are the tips? There are a few tips that I have put up here for writing your technical reports. Now, first one is know your audience. I will have, of course, mentioned all of these throughout the session, but just to brush up a little more. Know your audience. For example, if you are writing a manual of a mobile phone, now everyone around you will be buying a mobile phone. So it is something that is almost extremely common. That is one of the most common gadgets that a person can own. That is the mobile phone. So that way, who becomes your audience? Everyone becomes your audience. That way, you need to dumb your language down a bit more. You need to make it even more simpler, the simplest that you can. That is the first case. Second case, for example, you have bought a Rolls-Royce car. Now, first of all, the person who is going to own a Rolls-Royce car is not going to be from the middle class. He is going to be from the elite class. typically, if we have to say, because of the high prices of that car. Now, if they have bought that car, you can take it for granted that you need to involve all kinds of specifications of that car in your manual. And also, you can afford to go a little more in depth in terms of usage of words. That is most important, because the elite class is almost fully educated. It's a very, very debatable and gray area, but still, as an audience, another example could be if you just buy, just take it for example, a mouse, a mouse. If you buy a mouse for a computer, you will know that it is an accessory for a computer. But if you have to give a manual for the mouse, there isn't much required, to be very honest. But it is your duty again to give a clear instruction of how things work. If it is a wireless mouse, how to turn it on, what kind of batteries to put in it, how long will the battery last, how long will the mouse last, what is the range of its receptivity. All of those details you need to include. Now those things, the mouse product will be bought by people who have a computer. Now, people who have a computer will at least be knowing basic technical language of the computer. It may be anything. This is just a small example. So, the basic language that encompasses a computer owner, you can afford to use that kind of language when writing specifications of a mouse. This is just one small example. I hope you have understood. So knowing your audience becomes important, because then you can choose the right kind of language to use in terms of technical words. I hope this point is clear. The next point is use an impersonal style. Of course, this is again a lift from journalistic writing. Use an impersonal style. It has to be very, very much in third person. This is, it is done. You need to use that kind of language. You can't say, I feel this product is like this. You cannot say it like that. It has to be purely an impersonal style, wherein you don't use any kind of addressing to yourself. You have to become invisible. When people read your writing, people shouldn't think that a person has written it. Focus mustn't go on the person. The focus must always remain on the matter. I hope that point is clear. Straightforward and to the point, we have discussed this point. Know how to research. This is very important. For example, if I give you a pen. If I give you a pen, you need to know what are the essential information that are required to write a technical write-up of a pen. Even another example, you can take, again coming back to the mouse itself, you need to know what is the essential information that is required to be written for a computer mouse. As I mentioned earlier, if it is a wireless mouse, you can focus on its range, on what kind of battery needs to be inserted, how long the battery will last, and what is the kind of maintenance that you need to do for the mouse, and what kind of trackpad does it need to be put on. All of these kind of small things come only, first point is, if you have self-interest. If you have interest in that particular field, you will automatically gain it, grasp it faster and be able to write it more effectively. If you don't have an interest in that field also, don't worry. Just do a slightly bit of more homework on that product. Just look at its specifications, previously given specifications. The specifications will be given by the manufacturer itself. So just look into that, and then when you are told to write this technical write-up, just be curious and ask more and more, because the person who makes it or the company that makes that particular product will know what they want to put forward to the audience. What are the key elements? There will always be key elements and miscellaneous elements. Focus on both, but try to grasp what the key elements are, because the company will be very sure of what they want to put forward in terms of product brand. So always keep this in mind. Do proper research before you do a technical write-up. Why research is required is so that your information is very accurate. You don't have any fallacy in your information that you're sharing, and your write-up is pin to pin perfect. You need to attain that kind of perfection, and for that your research is key. Next one, thorough description. Thorough description, you need not leave out certain things in terms of technical writing. As we were doing in journalistic writing, we were focusing more on the important stuff first, important information. But here you need to be as detailed as possible, because here you don't need to maintain the audience's interest. You don't need to, make them look into your article. Basically, they will look at your manual if they have an issue at hand. So you need to fulfill all of their queries within that writing. Of course, it is not possible to fulfill all queries. At least give them the basic and the most thorough information you can, as much as possible. Again, this point boils down to good research as well. So everything is interlinked. You need to gather these skills, and honestly, this isn't very challenging. If you have a good sense of observation, a good sense of curiosity, a good hold on your language, this becomes a piece of cake for you, trust me. So that concludes our session for today. Today we have learnt about two very important things, that is the journalistic style of writing and the technical writing. Hopefully you will have got a new perspective on writing for technical reports, that is technical writing, and hopefully in future you may even look at it as a very viable career option. And so now I will see you in the next session with another interesting topic. Until then, stay safe. Thank you and have a good day.